Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to this AICT sponsored STTP on mitigation of power quality issues in distributed generation systems using custom power devices phase 2. Welcome you all. I invite coordinator of this STTP, Professor Dr. P. Usharani ma'am, to initiate the session. Please, ma'am.
A very good afternoon to one and all present here. I welcome you all for the STTP program 5th day. I'm really happy for all are attending regularly. I expect your full cooperation till the end of the program. Today afternoon, we have Mr. Jyoti Prakash sir and Mr. Muniraj sir from Elmec Engineering Services representing Fluke. I request Mr. Jyoti Prakash sir, kindly take the session, sir. Please, sir.
Yes, ma'am. Good afternoon. So, thank you. So, good afternoon to all. I welcome you all to this second afternoon session. So, in the morning session, I covered the first two topics, like why we should care power quality problems and what are the power quality parameters and its own measuring techniques with some tips. So in the second session, I would like to start with standards. What are the standards internationally people are following for power quality measurement as well as the power quality limits, power quality parameter levels. So after that, I'm having some 3 to 4 case studies. So I will share that also. So after that, I will end up with a Fluke 435 visual training at the end of the day. So I'm having here on Fluke 435 remotely. I will take from remote display, and I'm also having one PQ simulator. So I will try to show you. So what are the things what we saw in the morning as a real in power quality analyzer. So this was the plan. And so apart from the morning session, I would like to hear more questions from participants in the second afternoon session. So I would, again, I request you to please be more interactive in this session because it will be a little bit more interesting than morning session. So that all being said, I starts with the standards. So in the morning itself, I told I introduced a standard IEC 61000 class 4 chapter 30. So which is actually defining the measurement and interpretation of results, how a power quality instrument has to operate. And all those standards was actually designed by IEC, defined by IEC 61000 for hyphen 30. And apart from this, what are the other standards are? So IEC 61000 class 4 under chapter 7, which is especially giving you the idea, giving you the procedure, how to measure a harmonic current and a harmonic voltage. In a class A power quality instrument, so the harmonic current and the harmonic voltages are measured in every 200 milliseconds. That was actually designed, that was the compliance for IEC 61000. So now apart from a class S has I think 2000 millisecond window. Class A equipment has a 200 millisecond window. That means at every 200 millisecond it will calculate its harmonic current and a harmonic voltage. So as per IEC 61000, apart from power quality parameters, the voltage measurement and the current measurements are actually done for every off cycle. So we are following 50 Hertz. So for every off cycle means every 10 milliseconds, it will calculate the RMS voltage, RMS reading and a current and power. So this is how the rules playing with the standards playing with the power quality instruments. And apart from this, the last one is IEC 61000-4, chapter 15. In the morning, I told a power quality parameter called a flicker. While discussing that power flickers, I told there is a standard which is defining how to calculate, how to interpret that voltage fluctuation and duration in a severity pattern. So this is that standard IEC 61000, chapter 15 actually defines the testing techniques for voltage fluctuation and flicker measurements. So if you have a free time, you can go through this three IEC standards. So which is a major IEC, which is the major standards for the power quality analyzing part. So apart from this, there is a standard from European like EN 50160. So what it defines is it is a standard which actually defines the limit values for a power quality parameter. Say for example, if I am supposed to say a voltage value as a dip or a swell. So I need to define, for example, my nominal voltage here is a 230 volt. At which voltage it is considered as a dip, at which high voltage it is considered as a swell. So I have to set some limit like a plus or minus 10% or plus or minus 5%. There should be some limit. So that kind of limits are actually set by this EN 50160. This is a worldwide common standard. Every power quality analyzer class instruments having this standard by inbuilt. So as per this standard, this is the limit for every power quality parameters what we discussed in the morning session. You can see here like a dip. I set the nominal voltage for 230 volt. So you will consider if the voltage is less than 207 volt, it will consider that as a dip. If it is voltage is greater than 253 volt, it will consider as a swell. So these are this kind of limits actually set by EN 50160. For a voltage TXT, the maximum limitation is 8%. For a flicker, for a long-term flicker, 2 hours recording, the count should not exceed 1. For a short-term 10 minutes recording, the count should not exceed 20. And apart from this, for unbalance, in the morning itself, if you may recall, so while discussing unbalance, I told 2% is a maximum allowed limit for voltages in unbalance. So here you can see that limit was set by EN 50160. Then for amplitude in phase unbalance, there will be no limitations allowed. So it should be as a perfect 0, minus 120 and minus 240. For frequency, you can able to verify like plus or minus 1x, plus or minus 0.5x. So these are all the standards which was set by EN 50160 worldwide. Every power quality instruments are actually following these limits to produce that it as a event or to mention that as a problem. So as I said, if I want to mention the voltage as a dip, the voltage should be less than 207. I can able to consider that as a dip as per this limit. So I think it's clear. Okay. So that has been said, we can go for the case study. So it's so the first case study here is a problem description. That was a call from one famous college. They are what they told us they are encountering some transformer chattering noise. So here is a online diagram for that scenario. So the transformer is actually supplying to 3 classroom buildings, which is usually single phase loads. So that's why it's mentioned as 240 volt. And the transformers actually supplying this 3 classroom was making this chattering noise. You can imagine how this chattering noise will looks like. If there something was loose inside the transformer, you can imagine if something was loose inside the transformer, the shaking of the transformer, which creating that kind of chattering noise. So the chattering noise sound looks like that. So what is the problem is we need to identify who what is the cause for that chattering noise and how to solve that, and what are the observations we did and what are the things we learned. So I'm just trying to share you. So this is the observation. Initially we start with the load study at the transformer end. So what the load study was told is, so transformer is actually heavily loaded but not overloaded when compared to its rating. So transformer is heavily loaded but not overloaded. When we study that what are the load patterns in their classrooms, most of the loads are actually consist of cube lights and luminous lights only. So after that, some electric heat furnaces, a few computers, and some projectors. So these are the main 4 load pattern in the classrooms. So you can recall this single diagram. So there are 3 classroom buildings. So each one of these consists of loads maximum. Among of these like lights, electric heat furnace, a few computers, and projectors. So among of these instruments, most of the load was contributed by a electric heat furnace. So this is the scenario. Now you have to imagine, and you have to give some guesses. So what could create this kind of transformer chattering noise? And this is the load pattern. So transformer was heavily loaded, but actually not overloaded. So, so any guesses like which instrument, like whether lights or electric heat furnace or projectors, which one may create this kind of chattering as what could be behind on that? Any guesses? So you can unmute yourself and you can tell. Okay. So I'm moving. Okay. So what we found is after that we examined the harmonics at the transformer LT side. So this is the harmonics graph. What we found. So here is the order of harmonics. This is a in x-axis is a percentage with respect to its RMS value. So one means the fundamental is rising in 100%. Surprisingly, we are getting a second order harmonics, like a even order harmonics. Normally, if you are encountering into electrical network for harmonics study, you never get this kind of even order harmonics because we know that we are having a symmetrical sine wave. So in a symmetrical system, the even order will get cancels out, and we cannot able to see this kind of harmonics. But when we encountered this transformer, when we studied the input of this transformer, output of this transformer, we are facing this kind of even order harmonics. Again, the question is which instrument out of the loads what we said earlier, like lighting load or electric heat furnace, or a computer or a projector, which one will cause this kind of even order harmonics? Because they are the loads which contributing this harmonics. We need to find and how to solve that. So is there any guess which instrument will produce even order harmonics? One white. So if you have any guesses, you can unmute yourself and you can tell. So actually it is a more surprising. So it's the first time we saw that even order harmonics was generating in a three-phase system. So I will. So what is the reason? So which one is causing that even order harmonics? So to understand that, to find that, what we did is we studied each and every instruments in their classrooms, and while studying, what we found is the projectors, what we told in the earlier as a load pattern. So the projectors was actually too old. So while analyzing the input of this old projectors, we found this is the culprit who is injecting the even order harmonics currents. So the projectors are actually, when we deeply analyzing what is inside that projector, how it is creating that even order harmonics, and what we found is the projector was actually too old. They're using kind of a half-wave rectifier configuration in order to generate a DC current in the to supply the other electronic components. So while using a half-wave rectifier or half-wave configuration, in the morning session, you may recall while discussing harmonic section, I introduced some table like number of pulses versus order of harmonics. If you use a single pulse or a half-wave rectifier configuration, you may face second order, third order, fourth order, fifth order, sixth order, all types of harmonics order. So that was defined. So now we can easily predict. So the old projectors are actually the culprit, and is actually injecting that even order harmonics. Now we have to answer why the chattering noise was coming. Okay, so in transformer we know that the magnetic flux of the transformer is always the transformer will try to maintain as a constant. So whatever may be the up down in the primary and secondary current, the transformer always trying to keep its magnetic flux in a constant value. But due to this even order harmonics from a DC component to a even order, like a second order, fourth order, and a sixth order harmonic currents, will actually unbalance that magnetic flux in the transformer, which pushes the transformer core into saturation on one off cycle of the and pull back on the other off cycle. So this process of going in and out of the saturation actually produces this kind of strange noises from the transformer core. So I think is it clear? So anyone can please unmute yourself sometime. So we studied, we found, and we have to give them some suggestions also because we need to finalize the cases. So what we encountered is transformer chattering noise, and what we analyzed, what we did is we did some harmonic study, and what we found was that even other harmonics was a major component, and we found the problem cause. So cause for that even other harmonics were the old projectors they are using, and why and we also found the reason and why that kind of shattering noises because of unbalancing in magnetic fluxes. Now we have to give some solutions how to rectify this. So as I told in the earlier or description this problem, I told that the transformer was heavily loaded. That's why which it reduced its tolerance for the DC current and other harmonic component. To accommodate this kind of DC current and other harmonic component, it needs some kVA. Because it is heavily loaded, it couldn't able to accommodate this thing. So all of this component in the problem. So what we suggested is, so what they did is two or more projectors actually connected on the same phase, so like our phase, and they used the same phase like our phase. They connected I think 2 to 3 projectors in the same phase, thereby it doubling the amount of DC current as well as even other harmonics. So this was the problem. So what a simple solution was provided was connect that projectors in opposite phases. Then there you can easily able to eliminate or you can able to suppress that even order harmonics. This is the simplest possible solution. So what they did is they did wiring to opposite phases, and obviously the DC currents actually cancels out. So what are the things what you can understand from this kind of case study means, so the presence of even order harmonics make you to investigate if there is any half-wave rectifier on a circuit. So even order harmonics are mostly related to the half-wave rectification circuit, and this sometimes it also results from full wave rectifier or a bridge rectifier. When one side of the rectifier has a blown or a damaged component, that thing also will produce this kind of even order harmonics. This will be very helpful while you are encountering some you are studying UPS systems, and because they are the backbone of their backup power. If you find it in early stage, you can able to solve the backup failure problem. So this is what the conclusion of the first case study. If you want, I will repeat again. So what the problem was, a transformer chattering noise. So what studies we did is harmonic study. What we found is even order harmonics. The cause for that even order harmonics was from an old type of projectors which were using half-wave rectifier configuration as a DC rectification for the DC rectification purpose. And due to that DC current and even other harmonics, the transformer magnetic flux started to unbalance, which making the core in and out of saturation. That kind of saturation, the core will produce this kind of chattering noise. So if in your career, in your field, if you ever face this kind of chattering noise sound, you can directly imagine there's something DC current or even other harmonics flowing in the circuit. So if you encounter even other harmonics, you may remember. So the half-wave rectification from half-wave rectifier or a single pulse converter will produce this kind of even order harmonics. So that's all about the case study 1. So if you have any doubt, you can ask me. So, okay, so I will move on to the second one. And here we can able to determine. So initially we talked about the power quality measuring instrument like power quality analyzer, oscilloscope, and all those things. So this is a standard which is actually applying for the equipments like a load, like a instruments. If you're designing a power supply, you need to get this compliance like IEC 1000, which is actually giving the limits for a three-phase equipment and power supplies and all those things. It divided the equipment into 3 categories like class A, class B, classes like C, D, E, and all those things. And what is a class A means? It's a balanced three-phase equipment. So this also includes the low harmonic rectifiers for computers and other office equipments. So when you are working power supplies for to supply for a computers or other office equipment, that should compliance with the class A of IEC 1000, and a portable tools like VFD portable speed controlling devices and all those things which comes under a class B. And I will show you the current limits also after this slide. So apart from this, there's another classes like lightning class C, sorry, lighting circuits, lighting devices, and ballast and all comes in the class C section, and which is having a special beam shift like a flat top voltage, when it comes under a class D classification. So here is a table which showing the harmonic current limits. If it is a class A instrument, the maximum third order harmonic limit was 2.3 ampere. So this is for a 15 ampere circuit. It's a three-phase circuit. So the maximum amount limit, so the maximum current, allowable current is 2.3 ampere at third order. Similarly for fifth order, seventh order, and 13th order. So the standard is IEC 1000. So if you have class B instruments, you can multiply this maximum current by 1.5 times. That is the maximum current your instrument can allow to inject a harmonic current into the power grid. Okay. Well, that's all. Okay. So I will move to the case study second, and here's a problem description. You can find. So the problem was a malfunctioning of traffic lights. That traffic police actually explained the traffic light at a main intersection of this town was randomly malfunctioning. Sometimes it is working fine, while other times it generated unacceptably long delays in one direction. Actually, it seems to be like a smaller one, like a little problem, but making a delay in traffic lights, it's irritating for our people. So we need to solve this kind of things. So what we did is we did a online diagram study. So the traffic lights was consuming power from one utility transformer, which is actually supplying to another one machine shop and one barber shop and one cafe. Now we need to identify why this long delays in traffic light was happening. So this is the input what we get from a field. So the transformer is supplying to this traffic light, also supplying to the machine shop, the barber shop, and the cafe. So we need to find which power quality parameter is causing this long delay in traffic light, as well as which is the cause, where is the cause from, whether it's a barber shop, whether it's a cafe, or whether from the utility, what is the cause for this kind of power quality problem. So this is the scenario. So while in the morning session, at the end of the morning session, I just listed out some summary point of how to do some troubleshooting in power quality. You may remember that. So always you have to go with what is the trouble occurred and when it is occurred, what was happened at that time. So everything you need to collect. Unless otherwise we cannot able to predict the exact moment. So that's why we just went for nearby barber shop and cafe, and actually that didn't reveal anything meaningful. So at the time of time delay in the traffic lights, there's nothing operating in barber shop and cafe, but at the machine shop, story is a little bit different. The shop actually had just installed a new brake lathe. They were using to resurface their breakdowns for cars and trucks. So the lathe was actually equipped with a DC motor powered by a DC adjustable speed drive. So that's a clue what we got is, and what we did is we did a transient study, because we can able to predict if there is any timing problem, any data reset up problem. So we can imagine that could be a transient or a voltage fluctuation problem. So we did a voltage fluctuation in a transient study. So what we found is displayed in the graph. So you can see a lot of voltage spikes are machine shop entrance. So we connected a power quality analyzer at the machine shop entrance. So this is the waveform recorder, and we noticed there are a lot of voltage spikes actually injected to the power supply, to the mains. So that means the same power supply is actually supplying to the traffic light also. So due to this due to this voltage spikes, there could be a possibility of making this kind of traffic light delay. So that was our assumption. So what we did is, how this voltage spikes was created. So we told them to operate their lathe, which was newly installed. So and we found due to the operation of the newly installed lathe, this kind of voltage spikes were happened. And when we analyzing that the DC speed drive, so what we noticed is the machine tools are normally need high torque at low speeds, and DC motor or drive configuration actually serves this need very well. So when we need a high torque at low speeds, we always prefer a DC motor with a DC drive configuration. So machine tools commonly have this kind of DC motors and drives for a high torque and at low speed purposes. So the input rectifier circuit in the DC drive is actually designed to provide variable amount of currents to meet the torque requirement and the speed requirements. So for that, we use a SCR, so silicon control rectifier at the input side. So to provide this kind of variable amount of load while operating. So this is a possible solution to design this DC drives. So when you know this SCR components, when used in a half-wave rectification or in a rectification configuration, you may remember ACR circuit will produce commutating spikes as one rectifier is turned off and before the other rectifier is turned on. So this kind of commutating spikes are normal when you are using a SCR circuit as an input rectification section. So in these cases, the spikes are generated when the lathe was operating were very large actually. Actually, these commutating spikes are under the limits, but while we monitoring, the spikes are generated when the lathe is operating was very large, even enough to disturb the nearby traffic light. So that was actually we found that, and obviously we need to give some solutions also. So to solve this, we need to give some isolation because the DC drive, the DC motor drives, they were newly installed. We cannot tell them to change that also. And the other possible solution is we need to isolate that power from that traffic light power from a main power line. So we suggested them to provide have some isolation transformer from the mains. So that's why they use that. So while using this kind of isolation transformer, they can able to keep the trains and things is running normally. So the traffic lights again back to the normal position, which is operating fully from a fully isolated transformer. So it is operating fine. So apart from this isolation transformer, if you face any this kind of problems like voltage transients, you can able to protect your own equipment because we cannot able to judge every time. So that is the cause of that transient, and we cannot able to everything. We cannot tell the cause to stop because we cannot able to stop this switching transients from anywhere. So we need to protect our own power supply design or our own power supply from the transient. So for that, the easiest option is stubber circuits. So mostly in drive inputs, they will introduce this kind of LC stubber circuit to suppress the transients. So you can go for that solution also. So, but in this place, new isolation transformer was a highly suited one for them, and that was suggested, and that was actually fitted and working fine. So, if you have any doubt, you can ask me. So, I think are you clear? Everyone is clear about what I said. So, or else I will repeat the case study again. Okay. So I will conclude this case study too. So what the problem was encountered is malfunctioning of traffic lights. So from the one line diagram, what we found is the same supply was shared by one machine shop, one barber shop, and one cafe. In machine shop, the newly installed DC motor and the DC with its drive actually producing this kind of transients because it consists of a SCR circuit for a rectification configuration. So SCR usually normally will produce commutating spikes, but this time that is large enough actually to even disturb the nearby traffic lights. So to solve this, we just isolated the power supply. We just give isolated power supply to the traffic lights. Thereby, you can easily eliminate that voltage competitive spikes. That's actually considered as a transients. So apart from this, you can also go for slumber circuit solutions also. So that all being said, if there is any doubt, I will go to the case study 3. Okay. So here is a case study problem, and this time the transformer which is supplying, so the transformer which is supplying to the dairy farm on Gold Club, an apartment, which is located in a remote area where you cannot expect that much power quality problems are happening. But this transformer got failed. So the case study actually starting from the investigation of this transformer failure, which is occurred in a rural area surrounded mostly by farmlands and open space, which are contributing the load contributing on from dairy farm and golf club and one apartment. So we need to support this utility engineer to find the cause for the transformer failure problem. So this is the problem description. So what observation we did is, so the engineer starts to begin to investigate by checking reports of problem with other transformers connected to the same feeder. So we just investigated the other transformers which were connected to the same feeder. So what was revealed is nothing wrong with the other transformers. The transformer got failed as the issue. So this was what we get, and anything useful was turned up there. So next we turned up to the farm owner. He said that at the time of transformer failure, all his milk processing equipment was running, and that was nothing problem. After that, we installed a new transformer and he turned on the milk processing equipment and it was running smoothly. So what we concluded, there is nothing problem from farm owner. And after that, we went for apartment maintenance service peoples also. So they also revealed there is nothing was abnormal happened at the time of transformer failed time. And that also didn't turn anything up to us for to conclude the solution. So we go for the gold club and we investigate what was happened at the time of transformer failure. So the service manager actually told they had rented several battery powered gold cards to supplement their normal fit. They are already having some battery powered gold cards. Apart from this, they also rented some other several battery powered gold cards to, because there is some tournament or something was going on at the time of the date of transformer failure. So what he did is the transformer before the transformer failure, what he did is he plugged all the plates, he plugged all the battery gold charger into the mains for charging purpose, because at the end of the tournament, so what was happened was the fuse was blown at the customer end, that clubhouse main service panel. But what the superintendent did was he just simply replaced the fuse, and after that the transformer was burnt out. So and finally it's very easy to find. So the clubhouse charging has the charging gold card as a issue. So this will, that's why it causes that transformer to fail. So what we told the customer is, uh, we told the service manager to arrange the same gold card setup again for charging, so we could able to record what was happened at that time. We just creating the same scenario, but actually we installed a new transformer. To prevent this new transformer from failure in the future, we need to understand what was happened for the failed transformers. So that's why we did this study. So what the study was did was harmonic study as well. You can see the harmonic bar graph here. So here we are getting order, third order harmonics and fifth order, seventh order, and ninth order harmonics. So here you can see how much percentage of harmonics at in ampere is around 37% of total harmonic distortion at current was monitored. So this was happened, and normally values above 20% would be dangerously high. We know that when this kind of harmonics was introduced in the flowing in the transformer, this results in extra heat in the winding and colaments. That was we see in the morning. Due to the higher order harmonic components, the transformer core loss is get increased. because it's directly proportional to the frequency. So due to that loss, due to this increase in loss, the heat will introduced. So due to this more heat, transformer installation get failed. So transformer obviously gets failed. So the 20% is a maximum allowable limit at TST 8. So current hormone is total hormone distortion is maximum is 20%, but here it was went up to 37%. So due to this, we found the failure was happened because of this harmonic problem. Okay, so what we found again, so this was I explained right now. So at the time of failing of the transformer, with the battery charging, that the battery operated for charging circuit load, in addition in combination with the peak load which was from the apartment complex. This is the major scenario why the transformer didn't able to accommodate this kind of harmonic current. So that's why it got failed. So we suggested that the supervisor do not repeat this setup and do not charge at the time between 5 to 7 p.m. and he agreed. So actually that was solved in a smooth way, but transformer was newly installed. And that all being said, this is a very easiest case study what we did is, and I will just recall the things. So what the problem we faced was a transformer failure, and what the studies we did is a harmonic study at a golf club entrance point. So it revealed they're injecting almost 37% of harmonic current into the power network. So we know that there is only the limitation is up to 20%. Due to that time what they charge like 5 and 7 p.m. The additional with the peak load, the transformer couldn't able to handle that harmonic current, so it was failed. And we suggested them to change their charging time in the morning or afternoon session, afternoon time. So this is all about the case study 3. So if anybody has a question, you can unmute yourself and you can ask. Okay, then I can move to that last case study. This is a real case study. It's very near to us. Like in Tamil Nadu, what Tangitco is actually doing is a power quality auditing. Around the globe, Tangitco is the only power company, power distribution company, who is doing this kind of audit at their customer end to provide, and they impose some compensation charges of around 15% of their energy bill if the harmonic levels were higher than the specified limits. Why Tangitco people were worrying about this harmonic problem is, the transformer was normally supplied from a TNB side, Tangitco side. So they want to protect their transformer from a life, because they don't want to burn every time their transformers. So they don't want to increase their lifetime of their transformers. So they accepted this kind of studies, and they are implementing from 2012, I think. They're implementing this kind of studies from 2011 or 2012 till it is going. So right now, for a consumer who is having 11 kV and a 33 kV ST supply, so they are doing this kind of audits in every 2 months or every month, I don't know. So they are imposing about 15% of their energy bills if their harmonics levels are higher than the specified limits. We already mentioned what is the limit. As per EN 50160, the maximum TST allowed is 8% at ST side. So they will do some auditing was, if the harmonic levels were higher than the 8%, they will find you, they will charge you. And that was you can find in IEEE 519 guideline at the Central Electricity Authority. They got a permission from them, and you can able to download this kind of PDF document in online. So this is the first company in the world around. So you will consider the only power distribution company who is worrying about the harmonics is Tangitco. So in future there may be many of those. So as I told, right now they stopped auditing for 11 kV customers. They are doing only for 33 kV customers, because that is much more predominant than 11 kV. The cost of transformer 33 kV transformer is much higher than 11 kV, so they stick with the 33 kV and above power consuming customers. But I think right now they are not doing for 11 kV customers. In future they might again start this. So this is a case study which actually done in our own state, Tamil Nadu. So it is actually happening here only. So if you have any doubt, you can surf this kind of Central Electricity Authority Board regulations and agri guidelines, how they are doing this kind of auditing work. You can go and see. So that all been covered in a case study part. I just made some I just shared some 4 case studies, as well as what was we learned, what was we did, and what is the solution we provided. And while talking about the power quality analysis and oscilloscopes and all those things, it is my job to tell you the safety related things, because if we cannot able to handle that electricity that much easily. It's a highly dangerous one. So here is an additional bonus point you can take that as a. So as per IEC 61010, they are separating a working nature into 4 safety category rating. For example, the category 0 and category 2 and category 3 and category 4. So if you are doing work in single phases and all those, if you are doing measurement in single phase circuits, the category 1 or category 0 is enough. So as per this category rating, the test and measurements instruments are actually classified. So if I want to do work at substation, so like that was under category rating 4. I cannot use a multimeter which is rated for a category 2. So that makes sense because at category 4, which was defined for outside of the building, it's nothing but a substation side or outside our home, outside our DB or outside our energy meter. If you want to measure anything, your meter is supposed to have a Cat 4 safety rating, unless otherwise don't use that. For a 3-phase operation, category 3 is enough for inside of when you are operating, when you are testing inside your building, which is after your DB. So DB is nothing but it is consisting of production devices like MCB and all those things. So after that, you can use this category 3 rating instruments. And if you want to use at substation level or at main incomer side, your instrument should have a category 4 rating. So unless otherwise, don't try to connect a category 2 rating multimeter or whatever may be the test and measurement. Don't try to do under category 4 rating, so it will get burned. So how they are classified this kind of categories? Here is a table. So this is for mostly we don't care about a category 0, which is less than 150 volt. So this comes like a power supply, like laboratory equipments. We never care about this. So for the category rating 2 and category rating 3 and category rating 4. So here are the impulse voltage. See if I'm connecting a multimeter directly to my single phase AC, there will be a transient. Certain transient will hit my test lead as well as my meter input. So what is the level of that impulse voltage? I actually categorize this kind of category, safety category. So depends upon this impulse voltage, they are separated this kind of category voltage. For example, if I'm using a line voltage like 3-phase less than 600 volt, impulse voltage may go up to 8000 volt. So at category 4, that means when I'm connecting my meter at the power service entrance point, the voltage, the impulse voltage, that means that the switching transient will go up to 8000 kV. That was defined by IEC 61010. If my instrument don't have that capability to withstand this impulse voltage, so definitely the instrument will get, your instrument will get failed and you will get electrocuted. So this is kind of safety information. So you can note down or you can take that. Say for example, if I'm having a category 3 rated multimeter, and I can use up to for 3 phases, because the maximum impulse voltage it can go to 6000 volts. But at the same time, same rated category 3 multimeter, I cannot go and use in the my power service entrance, because at that place it will go up to 8000 volt or even sometime 1012 kV. So the tension will go up to 12 kV. So it will destroy your instrument, and definitely it will electrocute you. So don't try to do this kind of things. So before taking or before buying any kind of instrument, whatever may be the test and measurement instrument, you need to understand these ratings. These ratings you can able to find in any of the OEM manufactured test and measurement instrument in their data sheet. So depends upon this rating, you should supposed to choose your test and measurement instruments. And I think it's clear. So I hope, and I will move to the next slide. So at a conclusion for the power quality section, so what from the morning itself I'm discussing about Fluke 435, Fluke 435. So what it is having is it's having a class A instrument, and it's having highest accuracy. So the class A means it should comply IEC 61000-4-30, and it have the capability of measurement up to 6 kV of transients, and it can easily automatically you can able to capture event, and which exceeds the N50160 limit, which was internally set. And also it is possible to capture the waveform also. I will show you in the virtual training part. And if you remember, if you recall in the morning session, I told it having isolated channels, it can able to withstand up to 8 kV. So you may understand that why it is 8 kV. So because if you want to connect your power quality at your service point, so the voltage, impulse voltage will go up to 8,000 volt. So your power quality instrument should have this starting capability. And as I told in the morning session, it is the only meter in the world which can able to calculate the energy loss automatically. And in Fluke, there are another two models are there, like 435, 434, and 437 and 438. 434 are a class S instrument. 437 is actually meant for 400 hertz operation, and that for aviation and army people, not for domestic purpose or industry purpose. And another one is beautiful kit is Fluke 438. And I just want to give a little overview of this Fluke 438. So what's the specialty in this Fluke 438 means? It has all the features of Fluke 435. Additionally, you can able to do some motor analyzing work. So how to analyze the motor? For example, if I am having a motor, I need to, what are the parameters I can able to find? Like I can able to find, I am supposed to find mechanical power and torque. So what is the speed and what is the efficiency? So in laboratory setup, it is very easy. You can purchase a torque sensor, and you can couple to the shaft and the load, between the shaft and the load, and you can able to measure your mechanical power directly from the torque sensor. But if you go into the industry, the shaft and everything was already built. You cannot go and cut the shaft and introduce your torque sensor. It is not possible. So we need to find the mechanical power, torque, and we need to calculate the efficiency of that motor directly from an electrical parameter. So this is the beauty of that instrument. So without any mechanical sensor, so this instrument can able to measure the mechanical power, torque, and speed, and also efficiency. So what does this efficiency means is real mechanical power versus the electrical power consumed. So it also having the motor derating factor, which was in the morning session we saw for transformer derating curve. So similarly, motor has also having some derating factor. So it depends on the power quality input. So if you are supplying to the motor, if you are supplying from a VFD, it should have some limitation in the harmonic levels. So if you injected more harmonic current to that to the motor, so definitely it will get derated. So you can directly able to view this graph. And in x-axis it is getting the derating, and y-axis it is showing the percentage of load. So if it is operating at 100% load at a full factor, that means that there is nothing problem, power quality related problem in the input of the motor. It will show here like fully you can able to occupy. So if you are supplying at 50% of load, and the motor got derated up to 0.5, you cannot go beyond the 50% of load. And this derating factor you can able to calculate directly from this motor analyzing feature. So that all being said, so I request if you have any doubt, you can ask me right now. So after that, I will go for the virtual training. So it will take another 40 minutes. So till now, I completed this case studies and standards, and this I just consolidated this Fluke 435, and also introduced the Fluke 438 also, which is having a motor analyzing feature additionally to the 435 instrument. So if you have any doubt, you can ask me right now. So or else I can move to the next virtual training part.
Sir, I have a doubt in case 3, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
In one of the vendors customers, they told even in the during the power of transformer went on failure mode, they were unable to, they were was having a power supply. You told how is it possible, sir?
No, actually, what was happened was the transformer got failed. All of the three consumers that I will show that line diagram, they didn't get the power because the transformer
In the
got
daily
failed.
farm, you told he was having power.
So yeah, at that. So what was I told is, so we just go and investigate what was failed. We know that the transformer got failed because we know that power interruption was happened like yesterday 5 p.m. We just go and ask before 5 p.m. what was happened in your dairy farm. So after 5 p.m. he didn't also have that power, and so this investigation starts when we install a new transformer. At the time of investigation starts, we started the investigation after the new transformer was installed. So the main part is we don't want to get a new transformer also fail again. So that's what the investigation started. So at that time the dairy farm was working fine because they were having that instrument because the transformer was newly erected. But anyhow, we need to identify why the earlier transformer was failed. So that is our job at that point. So at that scenario, so that what we went for discussion. We are going for investigation with the dairy farm and apartment peoples. Is it clear, ma'am?
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am. Okay, so that all being said, and I will goes into that virtual training part. So what I'm going to do right now is, so in here in my office, I'm having the setup which is having one power quality simulator. So look like some DJ box, but it will able to generate dips, stacks, and sorry, dips or swells, and you can able to inject some third order harmonics. You can able to play with imaginary components like power factor leading and lagging. You can able to view. So and I will show you live view, so how it is going to affect, and also I will try to cover these topics. So it is a basic one, like I will show the scope, waveform, and phasor diagram. So how the imaginary components are affecting the leading and lagging current. So you can able to visually see in the vector graph, and power factor variation due to that inductive and capacitive. So I will show you dip swells. So how a real dip swells will looks like, and how you can able to analyze from your Fluke 435. I will show you, and similarly like transients, unbalance, I will create and I will show you. The most important one is harmonics. So right now with this demonstration kit, I can able to generate only a third order harmonics. So I will show that thing. And in the morning session, I told to tips like measuring technique. You can able to predict from a power factor and the DPF. That thing also I will try to show, and a crest factor variation due to the harmonics and that energy loss function. So I will introduce harmonics and I will show you how much energy loss I'm getting. So I will try to show that thing, and after that due to unbalance and due to the reactive components. So this was the plan. So this is I'm going to do. So just a minute. I will share my screen. So I will share another window. So now you can you able to see that power quality remote display. So anyone please confirm.
Yes, sir, it is visible, sir.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. So one apology. So right now I connected via remote via USB cable. So it will get a little bit delayed than usual. So little bit be patient. I will tell everything. Okay. So don't worry about that. So initially I will start with the scope waveform. So you can see the button called scope. If I press the scope button, so you can able to view the scope waveform. So here is a RYB waveform. Here is a voltage level. So 230, 230, and 230. So I simulated it from the power quality case. I connected to voltage input to the power quality and the same current input also. I just take from the power quality and I connected here. So this is a voltage waveform. So this is a current waveform. Just a minute. So right now we will update. Yeah, so this is the current waveform, how it looks like. Even if you need, you can zoom that thing also. So using this zoom option, you can able to zoom in, and you can able to view the waveforms. And here is a ampere level 16, 15, and 15 ampere. And here's the most important point. You can see as a phasor diagram here. So I'm pressing that. So I can able to visually see that phasor diagram. So here it is. You can see some arrow marks. So the dark arrow actually representing the voltage waveform. So the dark red means voltage, which is at 0 degree, 0 degree, and yellow means minus 120 degree Y phase, and B 240 degree at that is B phase. So RYB phase. There is another like a small triangle you can able to see. So that is actually showing the current level. So dark one is voltage and voltage arrow, and light small triangle is a current arrow. So here you can see that phase degree level of current waveforms for our phase. Right now it is around 360 degrees, so that's why it's lying on the 0 degree line. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to inject some inductive load to this. So I'm going to get some lagging power quality. So here you can see the small triangle, the current phasor is getting lagged from voltage. So around the 52 degree got lagged. So because I injected some inductive load, and I'm also having resistive load. So that's why it's consuming. Earlier you saw that 15 amperes due to the resistive load. Now it is increased up to 27 ampere. So I'm adding the inductive components also. Now I'm reducing the resistive components, resistive load to 0, and now the load at our phase, the load was fully contributed via inductive load. You can able to clearly see this is a voltage waveform, so 90 degree lagging current waveform. So this is how beautiful is this. So now I'm going to change that capacitive into a inductive into a capacitive load. You may get a 90 degree leading current wave and compared to the voltage. So if I increase the resistive load, the phase angle of a current will get reduced. It will try to reduce. So you can see now. So the current is getting reduced. So what I did right now is, so that dark arrow representing the voltage waveform, the light arrow actually representing the current waveform, and I injected some inductive load initially, so it was there for showing as a lagging current. So after that I injected some capacitive current, so it went for a leading side. So this is how you can able to guys, and you can able to see some phasor diagram. You can able to inject a real component or imaginary component from this demo case, and also for other phases also. So other phases it is under in same condition, but if you want I can inject that Y phase or B phase also. So right now I did for Y phase. So three-phase simulation is possible to do. So now I'm back to the position. So the second thing is what I wanted to show you is power factor variation. These two things are basic, everybody knows. So if I injected the capacitive component, the power factor will get into leading. So when I injecting inductive component, I can get a lagging power quality. So I just selected a power from the menu operation. I just selected the power and energy option. So here you can see the kilowatt, kVA and kVR and a power factor. So right now the power factor is 0.99, 0.97, 0.99 uh, because while when you see the vector diagram, so it was everything R phase and Y phase and B phase is in the current components are purely resistive. So that's why it is having a same coincidence with the 0 degree line of phase, because you don't have any kind of phase shift. So now coming back, so now I'm going to introduce some at R phase. You can watch this power factor right now here. So I'm injecting some inductive load. So I'm adding in inductive load. So now the power factor is got reduced to 0.62. So apart from the other phases are still I didn't add any kind of load, still having showing the same power factor, but our phase it is showing as inductive load went up to 0.63. So now if I increased to capacitive load, so it will show us a capacitive and related power factor. So when I come down, so I can able to see the parameter what I mentioned as earlier, DPF, displacement power factor. The other name is called as a cos phi. So right now it is 0.59. So the power factor is almost same. So it is 0.57. So we can imagine the power factor and the DPF is right now in a same level. So there is a nothing harmonic component in this system right now. So when I covering the harmonics, I will show this graph, this parameters again. You can able to find a difference also. So the next point, so what I'm going to do is, so I'm going to introduce some voltage fluctuations. So I will go into, so the next parameter called a dips and swell. So I'm going to view how a dips and swells will looks like and how it will work. So initially I told which voltage was considered as a dip was from a limit EN 50160. So I'm setting the nominal voltage for 230 volt. So if it is less than 207 volt, it will, due to this limit, it will consider that as a dip. And if there is something has happened, it will be updated in the events table. So right now it is in 0. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to reduce the voltage at R phase. So I just reduced right now. So you can see in the voltage trend graph. This is the voltage R phase, Y phase, and B phase, and you can see there is a voltage drop was happened, and now the event was counted to 1. So what is that event? If I go into that event by pressing F4, so it will give you a date, time. So when this event is happened, like 15, 13, 20 at 8:30 millisecond, the date was happened, it went to a level lesser than 1, even for 170 volt it went. And how much duration it was there? I think it was there for what it shows 1 second and 370 milliseconds. So this much of accurate reading you can able to get from a power quality analyzer. So right now I'm starting. So I want to show that waveform also. So you can see here you can see it's a wave event. So if you press that, so this is our complete R phase, Y phase, B phase graph. And if you want, I can switch to A phase. So where I introduced the problem. So here you can see there is a drop of this voltage went for 133.10 volt. So it will capture that event and it will save that. So in these two graphs, you can see is a light arrow, light red, which indicating the current. So here you can correlate. The dark red is the voltage. Because I didn't reduce the current, I just did a I just reduced the voltage only. I didn't reduce the current, so that's why the current graph is more higher than the voltage graph. So this how you can able to take a screenshot, because what the power quality analysis is, when it encountered a dip, it automatically captures the scope waveform and it save. So I'm coming back and I would like to create another event. So one swell, and I would like to create one transient. So I want to create a swell in the same phase. So I just created now. So now it is encountered some two events. So you can see the events is rise to 2. So when I go into that event table, so the first event was swell, voltage swell was happened. So you can able to see what is the type of the event, SWL, which is nothing but a swell. At which phase? A phase is nothing but R phase. So at which date and which time, and what was the level it went. So as per the limit set by EN 5060, if the limit is exceeding this level, it will consider that as a swell. So it was a very fraction moment, so it didn't even capture that. And there's a change in voltage because I keep for long period, so it was showing as a rapid change in voltage. And these are the two events created. Right now I'm going to generate one dip and one transient. So I'm going to interrupt the power supply for a moment. So now it is again updated like a one dip because I interrupted, so the voltage went down up to 9.9 volt and swell because it suddenly went to because when I turn off and turn on, suddenly it will give you a voltage rise. So with the transient capture. So this is how it will power quality will work. So if I stop and save, I can able to see the waveform, respected waveform also. And when I talking about the transients in the morning session, I told it is always recommended to use the oscilloscope to measure. But anyhow, you can able to capture this kind of transients, and I will show you that transient separate mode, because the bandwidth and the sampling rate in this mode was much lesser than here. You can see as a transient in the menu option. So if I do a transient study with this option, I can able to get a higher sampling rate than normal studies. So I'm entering that. So it will ask you for the trip level analysis, which you saw in the morning, and I'm going to start it. So if I press F5, it will start to monitor the voltage. Here in the top, you can able to view the how much is the voltage, and so this is a trending graph. So the voltage versus time it will build. So for A phase and B phase and C phase. So now I'm going to do that same thing again. So interruption. So I did double press. Okay. So I did a double press. So here you can see there are two events was happened. One was when I turned off the switch, it went for a dip, and because that's a rapid change in voltage from 230 volt to a 10 volt, it will consider that as a transient also. Similarly, when the switch was opened, the voltage will shoot up again, and it will create a transient also. So now in this mode, I'm going to show you the graph of a transient. So as I told, this mode has a little bit higher sampling rate than what you saw in the earlier. So for this transient, I will take them. So here it is how it is look like. So transient waveform. So I can able to move this cursor by using this left right button. If you want, I can able to zoom that thing by using up down arrow also. So I'm just zooming in. So as I told, the red was purely the voltage, and this light red was current waveform. So you can see some voltage rapid change at that time. So this is the event time. So this is considered as a transient. So this has the bandwidth of 200 kilohertz only. And for most of the electrical people and electrical system, the electrical network, this is far enough than much. But if you are doing some R&D work, also if you are doing some research work, so I recommend you to go with a higher sampling rate oscilloscope. There you can able to clearly take some waveform. You understand, no? Because of the low sampling rate, the waveform is little bit dashed. So if you are taking a higher sampling rate equipment, definitely you can get a clear waveform. And we are having a 500 megahertz 5 giga sample scope, a handheld scope, which comes with the isolated channels. So you can try that thing also. Or else we are also having normal power analyzer in the morning session I told, which comes with a 10 megahertz bandwidth with 1 megahertz sampling rate, which is far enough to capture this kind of transient. This is a energy auditing purpose because this power quality analysis is actually meant for power quality and energy analyzing process. This is not meant for a scope option. So if you want to do this kind of scope thing, you can better go for a scope. And I want to show there is an option available in this kit. So I just right now show the dip and swell and transient. So after that, I just want to show some unbalance. So I will start this thing right now. So if you have any doubt, you can stop me at any moment and you can ask me. So I think you are. I think I'm hoping everyone is with me. So if you note down. So I'm coming back again. So you can see unbalance option. So if you want to measure the unbalance, so this is a phasor. It will show you the phasor diagram screen to show how much unbalance it is. So I'm reducing the imaginary component. So I will comes to the metering part. So this thing was I told in the morning. So I set everything is set at 30 volt. So here you can see the negative sequence component of percent in terms of percentage. Right now it is in 0.7 percentage. As per the limit, if it is exists more than 2 percentage, that could damage your equipment. Here you can see the voltage level of A and B, B, C, that is RYB, 230, 230, 230. If I'm right now, I'm going to change some voltage at so I introduced some unbalanced component. So here you can see unbalanced got raised up to 3.9 percentage. So that means it is far higher than the 2 percentage limit. So this kind of percentage calculations actually possible directly from power quality analyzer. No need of manual calculation. If you want, you can also see the scope waveform also. At any moment, if you press a scope, you can able to view. So you can also view this vector graph also. So these are the power quality parameters I would like to show. And after that, the very interesting part, I will come for harmonics. So I'll discontinue this. So discarding this. So after that, I'm going to show the harmonics part. So after harmonics, I would like to show the energy calculation. So energy loss calculation part also. So I'm entering into harmonics. So here you can see the total harmonic distortion from DC to the fundamental component to the third. And you can use this scroll options to any kind of harmonics. That's why the fundamental component is raised up to 100%. There is so clean way, so nothing in the harmonics. So now I'm going to inject a third order harmonic current in the three phase. So you may see this so right now voltage distortion, just a voltage distortion in, so I injected too much of harmonics. Okay, so this will be better. Right now you can see the third order harmonics got shoots up because I introduced a third order harmonic, and here you can see the TST value. If you listen, if you remember from the morning session, I told it will calculate the K factor also. So here is that K factor, which actually will helpful to choose a transformer before buying. So it's a very useful factor for energy auditors. So this is how it will look when you are when your system has a harmonics. Like if you're having a fifth order, it will shoots up. It will having a ninth order, it will shoots up. So like this, it will show. It is also possible to do some trending logging. That means versus time, you can able to log the TST parameters also. So this is a new trend. So it will shows like a TST of percentage of individual harmonics also. So you can scroll down up to you can use this scroll down option, and you can able to see up to 50th order of harmonics. So this is a harmonic function. So now I'm come back to the 3 points which I told in the morning, like so how a harmonics is affecting the power factor and a TPF. So how you can able to predict from those. So I will show that. I'm coming back to the main screen. So by using this power and energy option, so I would like to show that. So now I reduce the harmonics to 0, and I'm starting from here. Now you can note down this power factor like 0.99, 0.98 and 0.99. The total power factor is 0.99. So if I comes down, you can see the cos phi is 1.991 because it's purely resistive load here right now. And now I'm going to inject a third order harmonics. You may see a drop in the power factor, like now it went to gradually down to 0.85, 0.83 and 0.83. So if you remember from my earlier morning session, I told if the power factor is lesser than a DPF, there is an indication that there is some harmonic content in your system. So right now the DPF value is same, like 1.99 and 1, but the power factor got reduced when comparing without injecting a harmonic current. Now it got reduced to 0.8 by 0.8. That means the power factor is less than the DPF, which indicating you are having a harmonic content in your electrical network. That was that was the morning session what I told to you. And there's a speciality in this machine, so I will show that also. So here you can see the total kVA consuming by this load, like a 13.07. So out of this, how much is the harmonics kVA? Here it will separate it. So here you can see the kVA harmonics as 7. What is your fundamental harmonics? Sorry, fundamental kVA. So it will do that filtering work with respect to the frequency. So it will calculate the kVA, especially for harmonics, and the kVA for fundamental. Okay, so this kind of it will do some this kind of what do you call it? It will filter the harmonic as it will filter the 50Hz common also. You can able to separately view that thing also. And there is other possibility of using that unbalanced kVA. So if you remember from my morning session, I told due to the negative sequence, the motor will face a breaking effect. So that nothing but a loss. So I will show you in that energy loss calculation session. So after this, I would like to show the crust factor variation. So in the morning, I mentioned while talking about the harmonics. So two things there will be identification. Like one was power factor versus DPF. Power factor you will get a less power factor than a DPF. That indicates your system has harmonics. So here is a proof, and I will stop here, and I will go back to the menu. So now I'm going to enter into this volt ampere and hertz spot. So here I can able to monitor my crest factor. So when I comes down, so you can see as a crest factor V is 1.414, 1.42, 1.42. It's showing it's a I already reduced the harmonic content, so it's showing now it's a purely sine wave, and the beautiful current wave also repeating the same, like 1.41, 1.44, 1.44. So both are exactly the showing us the peak is in 1.41 times higher than the RMS that was actually meant for. Now I'm going to inject some harmonic current in three phases. Now watch this crest factor of ampere. So it shoots up to 1.8. So this is a very useful and very easiest way to find whether your system, your electrical network has any voltage distortion. So if you watch this crest factor term, now it is shoot up to 1.81. So it's showing so is something problem with your voltage waveform. So means it's having some more distortion. So this is what meant I in the morning session. So that is you can easily able to predict from a crest factor. And that all being said, I will go for a energy loss calculation point. So I told it's a patterned algorithm only available in Fluke. So it's my duty to show this energy loss calculator also. So in the morning session, if you recall, I what I said was, so it will calculate the energy loss which was due to the distortion. That means harmonics, and also it will calculate the loss due to the reactive component and unbalanced component and the neutral. Okay. So here is a screen, and right now I will show you by injecting the reactive component, so unbalanced component and distortion, you can able to find the increase in losses. So this is what I meant in the morning. So if I have more harmonic content, so the distortion kVA will increase. So the kVA which is consuming from the transformer, which is not converted into real power, you can able to view here. So I'm sorry, right now I was in full harmonic content. So now I reduced. So now the loss was reduced to 0.00. If I'm increasing the loss component, sorry, harmonic, I'm increasing the harmonic current right now. So you can see the distortion kVA gets shoots up, and the wattage loss due to this small third order harmonic current is showing. But if you are monitoring to the real power, like if you're monitoring at the kV ST side or LT side, so it will cause some kilowatts and sometimes in megawatts. So this is how a distortion kVA, which is converting into a loss, looks like. So now I'm going to show you that how this reactive component is converting into a loss. So we know that the power factor, if the power factor, if you didn't maintain the power factor, there is a loss in energy bill. So I will show that. So now I'm inducing some. So now the power factor, now the reactive gets positive. That means I injected inductive component. Now we can see the reactive kVR is 4.61 kVR. So right now the loss was very low because the ampere was too low. So like this, it will calculate and it will show you. So the first one is effective loss, which is due to that transport of power. I initially told in the morning session, it can able to calculate the, if you feed the cable detail, like what is the cable resistance and all those things, it will show you the what is the loss due to your impedance component. So this is due to the I square R loss. So this is due to this reactive component. And right now I'm also going to inject some, and this reduced to some unbalance. So right now you can see that unbalance is reduced to 0, 0. If your system has any unbalance, which will make you a braking effect in transformers or in motors, which is considered as a loss. So here is now I increased the unbalance. So now the kV got increased and increasing again. So now it's got a little bit more increased. So now increase the load into a reactive load. So now that means a motor load. Now you can see the unbalance got shoot up to 7.52 kVA. So due to this amount of losing is happening. If you enter the tariff, you can able to calculate this all complete things. And at the final, I didn't connect any neutral CT, so it's showing some random value. So leave that. And this is how it will look like a energy loss calculator. And I think okay, and here you can see a logger button. So right now what I did was I went to the menu, I did a separate study for everything, like voltage, sags and swells and harmonics and energy and power and energy loss. If you want to monitor this all parameters in a single shot, like if I want to monitor the power, energy, voltage fluctuations and voltage unbalance, flickering and transients and energy loss, everything if you want to do, we can use this logger function. So if you press and if you set up the parameters, you can directly able to log all the parameters what I showed right now. And if there is anything went beyond the limit, it will shows here in a event table. And it is also possible, as I show in the transient, it is also possible to capture the waveform automatically. So it will do the work. If you want to do by manual, you can use this save screen option. So I think that's all been said. I will go back to the presentation. So if anybody has doubt, you can ask me. So related to this case studies or a morning session or in this virtual training for quality session. So do you find any queries, you can please ask me right now. So I'm coming back to the presentation. So if you have any questions, you can ask me. Or else you can note my mail ID, email ID. So for any kind of technical queries or any doubts, you can ping me at Jyoti Prakash, JOTHI@nmacengineering.com. So that all being said, I think I finished my part. So it's a time for a Q&A session.
Thank you very much, sir. Jyoti Prakash, sir.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Jyoti, sir.
Yes, ma'am. Can you able to hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you very much, sir, for your presentation using Fluke power quality analyzer. Thank you very much. This
Yes,
time the participants are enjoyed, I think so. They have watched everything. Thank you
Yes,
very much for sharing, sir.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
All the parameters you are shown.
Yes, ma'am.
Voltage, hertz, dip, swells, harmonics, energy loss, calculator, power, energy, everything.
Yes, yeah.
Thank you very much, sir.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Sir, there's a question in the chat box, sir. Can I read you?
Yeah. So if there is
There's a
any...
question. question from Dinakar Raj sir. What type of algorithm is used to analyze THD value?
So THD value, just you know that that's just an integration formula. So for finding the THD, it's not kind of algorithm. It will monitor the. What it will do means it will do the FFT. So similarly, like as oscilloscope in the morning session, I told you have to do the FFT and you have to do the mathematical calculation. But in this kind of power quality, it will automatically do that FFT and it will find the amplitude of each component, frequency component. Say, for example, what frequency, what is amplitude level at 150 hertz and 250 hertz, and all those things it will calculate, and it will use the integration formula of THD. If you remember from your college days, there is a formula for a THD calculation, which is an integration formula. If you apply that formula with this amplitudes, which was taken from the FFT, you can able to calculate your THD value, not in both voltage as well as in current. So apart from this, so is it clear?
Thank you, sir.
So I think I'm also reading this chat box.
There's a question from Ashwini Kumar sir.
Yes, ma'am, I read that. So yes, so as what Ashwini Kumar has said is software rectifiers are rarely used in today's technology. Yes, I accept that. So we agree that. So is it possible or any device which can generate even other harmonics? So actually it is if you are using half-wave rectification configuration, whether if you are using a power electronic 6 pulse or 1 pulse converter, it is possible it will generate even other harmonics. But if you are using a three-phase converter, it will automatically cancel. So because if R phase will the first off cycle of in R phase will lies from 0 to 180 degree, but on the Y phase it ultimately gets a 120 degree phase shift. So that automatically will cancel out. So there is a very rare chance to see that Leonard harmonics. That's why I made that as a case study, a special case study. And as I told in that session, it was an old projector. That's why it was injecting that kind of even other harmonics. I think it's clear for Shwin Kumar. So apart from this,
The other question, sir, Rohini Guntan. Sir,
yeah.
What may be the reason for reduced power factor when load is very less, though the inductive load is not there? What is the simple solution to overcome this?
So if the inductive load is not there, there is a no possible of if there is no inductive load or if there is no capacitive load, so the power factor will remains at 0.99 or 1, and so there is no possibility of getting less power factor. If you are getting less power factor, means there is a one possibility, and I will tell you there's a very so only industry people know that if you are replacing that for a power measurement, you may connect two types of channels, like a voltage channel and a current channel. So voltage you can directly connect, but current you are connecting through a CT. So whatever maybe if it is LT or from its HC side, you will supposed to connect via a CT. If I reverse the CT from a Y phase and a B phase, so you can understand. So I connected a voltage channels like RYB, but I connected that CT as RBY. It will show the power factor as a low value. But even though there is a no inductive load present, if there is a no capacity load, there will be deviation in power factor, because it will measure the phase angle of Y phase with a voltage which is 120 degree in phase shift, but you are connected a B phase CT in a Y phase, so it will give another 120 degree phase shift. So automatically it will shift beyond 90 degree and it will show you less power factor. So that could be possible. So if you interchange your CT, so please check whether the CT was connected properly, respective of its voltage channels, like ROP. There's a possible. So again, is a question from Ashwin Kumar. I think Rohini Mugundan, I think I made it clear. If you have doubt, you can ask me. And so for Ashwin Kumar, is Fluke is able to measure both 50 Hz or 60 Hz. So yeah, in India we don't have 60 Hz. So but the power quality analyzer has a capability of 50 Hz as well as 60 Hz. You can take this power quality to all over the world, and you can able to do that. There's nothing more than that. And it's also having 400 Hz operation. So as I told, inter between like it's having a model like a Fluke 437, which is having a 400 Hz operation. So only army people and aviation and DRDO people, defense people will use this kind of separate frequency apart from the line frequency what we are using. They are using as a 400 Hz, and the shipyard and all those things they are using 400 Hz line frequency operation. On that purpose, there's a special meter called the 437 is that. Yeah, thank you so much. So I think all of the doubts was cleared. So if you have any doubt, again, I'm asking. So if you have any doubt, you can tell me. So or else you can ping me at any time if you have any technical queries relating to test and measurement solutions. So if you want to know how to measure this, if you want to know how to do this, if you have any kind of technical queries, you can definitely ping me at any time. So I will definitely help you out. So that all being said, I covered my part. If you have any questions, you can ask me right now.
Dhanlakshmi and Uma, madam.
Yes, ma'am.
Vote of thanks, ma.
Yes, ma'am.
Put the feedback link, ma.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
put the link.
Yes, ma. Post the link. Half the power analyzer, sir.
Yes, ma'am. I didn't get you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, sir, for the virtual training, which is very useful and informative to the participants. Thank you once again, sir.
Yeah, thank you so much. So thank you everyone for this kind opportunity. So I thank Usharani madam also and Muniraj sir also. So for providing me this this nice opportunity, and I also thanks a participant also. So thanks everyone.
Thank you once again, sir. On behalf of our management, our college, I thank you very much to your concern, LMAC Engineering Services, Mr. Muniraj sir and Mr. Jyoti Prakash sir. Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir. Stop recording, pa.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, madam.
Yes, ma'am, I'm doing it. There are many comments from the chat box, ma'am. Excellent session, sir. Very good case study, sir. These are the comments, sir.
Okay, yeah, thank you so much. So actually, real case studies is not simulated, and if you want, I will share the documents also related that. So if anybody is asking me, please inform me. So I will share that real document.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
So that's all being said. I am leaving. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.